So this is not the normal podcast. This gentleman reached out to me the other day and said that he had made a post and he wasn't proud of it and it has affected some people and it was misunderstood, taken the wrong way, taken out of context. I'm going to let him tell the story. Anybody that has something they need to say can come to this podcast, sit down and say it. I don't mind at all. Our county is rallying around a family and a young lady right now, stronger, I think, than we ever have for anybody else. We always come together um, for anybody and everybody. I've seen it so many times, and it's not going to stop. With that being said, take this episode however you wish to take it. But I felt that I needed to allow him to come and sit in this chair since he reached out to me, and I'll post the message so that he could say what he had to say. With that being said, welcome to
Let's
Front
do it.
Porch America. And today's totally different. Today is not an actual interview podcast. Today, I had this gentleman here. This gentleman is David Mills. Reach out to me a few days ago and asked to come on to give an apology, to explain what. And up until now, I hadn't even seen the post. I hadn't even seen what caused all this ruckus. I've been talking to you a couple of days now. You've got several screenshots, and up until now, I haven't seen exactly what was going on. So I've just kind of scrolled through it the last couple 10 minutes or so. But you reached out to me and you wanted to come on here, and I appreciate you reaching out to me, and I appreciate you wanting to come on here because I do have quite a bit of a large audience, and you know I'll just let you explain what you meant, what you're doing, what's going on, because I'm not 100%. Usually I do a lot of research. I'll do a lot of research on who I'm having in, or I've already known them, right? This is the first time I've ever met you.
Never met you before.
So let's just go ahead and get into that. And I've always tell everybody if you've got something you need to say, this is the chair for it, right? I'm not going to turn anybody away. I may ask some hard questions. We may butt heads sometimes. I've had it happen, but we're adults and we can work through this. And I don't think that's why you're here. You're here to cast an apology out for misunderstanding a social media post, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
we all know that right now in our county is a pretty tough time. So, um, but from what I've seen and what I understand, the post that you made was made the night
It
before
was made the night before I
the
had found
incident.
out about Maggie. I didn't find out about Maggie till the next morning, and my post was made prior to that, the night before, at about 1 a.m.
So for people who don't know, Maggie, little Miss Flossie had a side by side accident, and she's recovering. Hopefully, quicker than not so quick, but she's recovering in the hospital right now. Hopefully, every day she's getting better. Um, and I guess a lot of people, from what I just read, a lot of people think that it was toward that. So explain that post. Explain what happened, why you posted it.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Well, I had happened to be at Walmart a couple days prior to that, and I tend to listen. The people that truly know me and know my heart know that I'm a conversationalist. I'm a social individual that I speak to no strangers. Everybody I speak to, I try to treat as equally and politely as possible. And we know in a small community like ours that there'll be some of those that receive it well, and some, you know, just going about their day. And I get it. I understand. And but my post was made of. I tend to listen sometimes too much, but um, I was in Walmart and I had overheard a couple people talking about prior incidences and tragedies that had happened in town that they just didn't feel like the community had embraced that as much as they have others in the past, and how they tend to rally toward certain individuals and not treat the community as an equal, but treat it as basically a segregated uh, community. You have your farmers and your coal miners, and then you have your lower on the social status, the income, those that are struggling, those that are surviving, just trying to get by. Uh, you have those that tend to turn a blind eye a lot of times just because of the stigmatism that's been given on these individuals, families around. And it's like, and then I'd heard a lot of people talking about how, Morganfield, it's coming back and all this. And I grew up here. I left when I was 17, and I've come back, and it doesn't seem to have changed an awful lot, but it's changed some. And Mayor's doing a good job at what he's doing, and I appreciate what he's doing for the community and the town. Uh, I may voice a few opinions about certain things, but I guess my biggest issue with a lot of that is the goal seems to be uh, leaving out a lot of the community of Morganfield on the west side of town and things like that. That I feel there could be some improvements that were made or should be made that were equally as part of Morganfield as to keeping it separate. I feel like it's separate. So, and then this recent issue with Junior was my biggest motivator. I
So
believe
was that post, was it about Junior, or was it,
it was a
who was it referring to? Okay, so we'll get to some, and it's going to be tough. I'm sure some of these
sure,
questions are going to be tough, right?
sure.
Because I feel like was there a certain person that post was about that didn't get the attention that people thought they should have? Because you said that you heard a conversation in Walmart, and that's what it was about. That the publicity, the know-all wasn't as surrounded around it as much as other
Well,
cases had been.
and the turnout, I guess, the
Okay,
rallying against, uh, trying to figure out what went on and coming together for uh, for support for Junior's son, Raylan.
right now.
Raynell, yeah, and see, my mother, she took care of Raynell when he was at the Shelter of Love years ago in Morganfield, and I don't know if Raynell remembers my mom, Mona Duff, but big-hearted woman.
Miss Mona, yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
mother.
Okay.
She's a little spicy
Yeah.
redhead, but
Okay.
still pushing on, and that's where I get a lot of I guess, my I'm trying to think here, meaning to just go out and be that speaker for the muted voices of a lot of people that are afraid to speak up.
Yeah. So I noticed on just what I've read here just not too long ago, and that was one of the things that was somebody I think said, and forgive me if I'm misquoting it, was to stand up for those. And this thing with Maggie, her family, and I think the word entitlement was used. Kind of explain that, and we're going to get into the whole kind of what did you mean by that?
The entitlement to me, it can be when it's used, and that's the thing that I don't understand about this misunderstanding is I've used that word before in lots of things, and but for this one particular incident, for some reason, it just sparked a fire that has gotten out of control, and the entitlement, I guess, would be.
And what incident are you talking
I was
about?
referring kind of to, basically Junior,
Okay.
was a big part of it because,
So this post you made was made, and I'm trying to help clear it because I don't have a dog in this fight, right?
right,
All I have is the time the post was made, which was the night before the accident of Maggie. And I know Maggie and I know her family, and they're some really good people. And and I'm not being derogatory or negative
sure,
towards you, but by
sure,
no means do they ever thought they had a sense of entitlement.
right.
I think for me seeing it and being in the work that I am, it's kind of hard for me to sit here and say this because I see it different than a lot of people do. When a kid is involved, things are totally different,
Yes,
right?
sir.
People will move hell, heaven, earth. It doesn't
Absolutely.
matter.
As
They'll
they
move it,
should,
right?
as they should.
Um, have I seen personally things that I'm like, man, maybe we should have done a little more for this person? Yeah, we have. But also kind of go back to me and say, well, I can't say anything because I didn't do that. I didn't start that initiative, right? So, do you feel like maybe there was something you could have done to help get the word out with Junior a little bit more?
Well, there were some things. I mean, I did do some posts.
Okay.
I did share. I've got a lot of people that I know on my friends list that, you'll get some people that's got, oh, God dang, how do they know that many people? I know a lot of people.
Right.
I lived in a lot of places in this country, and I try to meet no strangers. And if I meet a friend or someone that I can call friend, I'll ask them, if you're on social media, and we'll continue our
Hmm.
relationship through there. And it's people that have seen things that I post that totally agree. I'm a big major player, and I try to be in the missing and murdered Indigenous women and children movement because that's a big deal, and a lot of people that aren't aware of it. Um, it's like that's just as an example. Any missing or murdered Indigenous woman in the plains or the reservations and all that, you hear nothing about it. Absolutely nothing about it. But if it was, let's say,
Gabby Petito.
whoever, yes,
Right.
yes,
I see what you're saying. Let's bring
and
it
and
back. Let's
it's
bring it
just
back around to Union County and the Post, because I want to get that. I want you to be able to say what you need to say and get that cleared up.
right.
Um, so, and especially, just the few little comments that I had time to read. Obviously, people are passionate about things. People are passionate about this county. I'm passionate. I'm not even originally from here, but I've lived here for over 20 some odd years, and this has become my county as well. And when people, and I don't understand, what I'm trying to figure out is how, seeing that the post was made before the accident, okay,
Yes, sir.
and I'm not taking anybody's side. I'm trying to see the truth and the facts in this, and seeing that the post was made before the accident, and people, I think what they're doing is they're relating that post to the accident. Okay, I I could be wrong. I don't know, um, but what is your goal?
Well, my major motivator really was, is honestly, was Junior, and I say that because, yeah, I got a little bit of tri-state news, involved. It got a little bit of other, community involved a little. I'll say little because that's to me how I felt about it. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, it wasn't even within a week, swept under the rug around here and totally forgot about. His son, right now, great guy, great guy. I bumped into him a couple times. Unfortunately, I had a few funerals lately in Union
Right.
County. We lost some beautiful people, both young and old, and um, I've had people call me prejudiced, racist. I am far from that. Far from that. I am colorblind in this community, which some are not. Me, I don't see black and white. I just see life for as it is. Everybody's a human being, and uh, after seeing, and I had seen a post by Raynell, and it just struck me the wrong way that he's right. It just it's gone away like it's almost never happened.
Right. And I had right now on the podcast, and we talked about that, and I'm actually trying to get him scheduled to get back in. But I don't think he wants to talk about that now. And I didn't even realize he had raised munchies, that little food thing he's doing. But
Yes,
totally different story. But yeah, I don't want to
yes,
get off to subject,
no,
because
no,
I want you to be able to do what you came here to do.
right,
Okay. Um, from when you post things on social media, it's there, right? It doesn't take but just a split second for it to hurt somebody's feelings, get under somebody's nerves, get under somebody's skins. I see posts all the time. People, I'm just like, you want to post this, but you're really this way. I understand that, and I get it, and decipher, and I think with everything going on, maybe people overreacted. I don't know. I haven't been able to go through everything and do the research that I normally would
sure,
do. I have a guest coming on here in the next few weeks, and that's what I've been doing for the last 4 days since I've spoken to them is doing nothing but, and I'll continue to research them until I get them here because I want to know. I want to know the facts, right? I don't want to
Sure,
know the hearsay, he said, she said,
sure,
shit. I don't
sure.
care about that. But what I want to know is why did you come here? What do you need to do to?
Well, what I really need to do is I want to reach out to because now's not a good time, and I don't know if it would ever be a good time uh, in the near future with Maggie's healing processes and with her family. What I wanted to do is come on here and to tell Maggie, her family, her parents, mother, father, sister, siblings, everyone related to Maggie. My post was not in any way, shape, or form directed toward her or her incident or her family's social status or any of that. My post was nowhere near related to that. I am so sorry she was in this accident. It breaks my heart uh, that their family are having to sit there and wonder what's going to be in the future. How long is the road to recovery going to take? You know, they're blessed. They got the community they do. They really are. They are beyond blessed to have everyone reach out, and this has gone everywhere. I've noticed on social media, and the pink for Maggie. I wear pink. I wore pink yesterday. I wear pink, and I'll continue to support Maggie. Uh, my thing is that is unfortunately on how this community is. I fumbled around with whether that night for some reason I should post it. Should I say something, or should I just keep my mouth shut and just go on about my business and be active? The best I can. Stay good with the law, stay good with my community, stay good with my peers and everyone else, but still be able to voice my opinion
Right.
on how I felt about outstanding things prior to this. Uh, with that being said, Mr. and Mrs. Nelson, you have my deepest thoughts and prayers and uh, concerns about your daughter. And I just am so sorry this got out of hand and out of control. This was not in any way, shape, or form towards that young lady.
And that takes a lot for somebody to come on here because my podcast it's streamed on several different sites and this is probably going to be seen by several 100,000, maybe thousands of people. But it's hard sometimes to admit when you messed up. And not saying that you messed up, but it's hard to admit when you screw up or you do wrong or even to apologize sometimes.
Right,
It's tough.
right.
It kind of brings you down and kind of humbles you after. Um, let me ask you this, and this is maybe even irrelevant and may not even be a good answer to the question. If you would have known about Maggie's accident, would you still have posted that?
I would have not, because of the timing was completely not good for that.
Yeah.
And hindsight being 2020, if I'd have known, I would have. And I even fumbled with that night.
So that night,
I conflicted with myself.
you
Do I
weren't even
say
sure. Do you?
anything?
Yeah.
Because I know how it's going to be accepted. I
Right.
know how it's going to be. I know the reciprocations were probably going to be out of control. But my heart and feelings at the time were about Junior and a lot of beautiful people that I've known in my life that have recently passed, and even within the next day, I think her name was Miss Davis had passed away. On Easter had an I guess an asthma attack and passed away, and that was part of my issue about Sunday. It was a tragic day, Easter, for Sunday for a lot
Right.
of people because the Pope, Catholic Pope, passed away. Miss Davis had passed away, and that's where basically my heart was at the time. I try not to carry a bitter bone in my body. Some people, though, you'll have that want to reach in and drag that out. And I also want to include the Sprague family as well, with my apologies. There's been some things said on Facebook.
Now I seen some pretty harsh comments, and hopefully they'll see this or they'll look into it and investigate it themselves and see that that post was not made after the fact, or whatever, and maybe and that's something between you and them to work
Right,
out. And
right.
and
As
like
I
you
hope
said,
we
right
will.
now is not a good time,
No,
obviously.
no, absolutely not.
Tensions and emotions are really, really high, and that's kind of where I think this county is. And I've learned, that I've been here, when one hurts, we all hurt. And do some people get more attention than others? I don't focus on that, because I always try to step up and do something. With Maggie right now, I'm doing the t-shirts, selling the t-shirts, and we're donating the money to their family. We've done other things. I make videos for kids that are sick, and just things
Sure,
like that.
sure.
And that's kind of how I give back. So I don't picture, I don't look at it kind of like, I guess I'm involved different than what you are.
Right,
Um,
right.
but I really appreciate you coming out and stepping up and apologizing, and trying to set it straight. I don't know how this is gonna go over, after I post it. Like I said, I don't have a dog in this fight. I just wanted to give you reached out to me, and I wanted to give you the platform. I want to give you the opportunity to say what you needed to say. Um,
Yes, sir. And I do appreciate it. I
and
do.
like I said, I don't know you from Adam. Like, I don't know you. I think when I was at the fire station, you had the dogs that got out or something,
My
and we're
wolves,
not even
yeah.
working. Yeah, but I don't even think I spoke to you then,
We may not. I don't believe we have.
because, and that's what I want people to know, is that we didn't. You didn't talk to me for days.
I
We
don't.
didn't set.
Yeah.
You just reached out to me, and I don't care. I'll post. I'll post the message, so people can see it. That you wanted to come on here, and you wanted to set it straight. That it had nothing to do with Maggie.
Absolutely. I just wanted to
You've
set the record straight.
experienced a few losses yourself.
I have. I've lost two wives. One in my first wife in a car accident. We had four children together. Raised them by myself till I met this beautiful person that helped me with my daughters. I had two boys, two girls. Didn't know nothing about girls back then. When I
Right.
was that age, we just got around. They played like the boys, and then she was helping me, and we wound up getting married. And she had a daughter at the time that was a year and a half. Uh, Her and I later had gotten pregnant, and I lost a daughter. And then we were married for about 26 years. And 6 years ago, on March 22nd, I had to lay her to rest, and she's on the same ground as our daughter is buried, looking right at her, and I've had to live with that, and to this day, I still live with it, and
Yeah.
I'll always
So
live with it.
and this may sound sadistic, but for somebody who's experienced that kind of loss, for someone to make a post like that and it be directed toward the incident, which it obviously we've no, it's not, because we've done research. I mean, that would be pretty shitty.
That's
So
that's
I
kind
just
of the
I'm
reception
having
that I've
trouble. I don't
got.
know you. I'm having trouble seeing the fact that you would do that maliciously. Okay.
Exactly.
And that's just my point of view. And people are allowed to disagree, and that's fine, and that's okay. But like I said, you reached out to me, and I wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to reach out, because if you knew the Nelsons, you would love the Nelsons. The Sprague's the same way. Jace is a
Oh
super
yeah.
good kid. Um, and so, with that being said, it takes a lot. It takes a lot for somebody to come in, sit down, and say, "Look, I screwed up. Maybe the timing was wrong. Whatever." I'm not taking your opinion, because we all got opinions, right?
Sure.
But I'm not.
Sure.
I'm not taking your opinion of your post, um, and saying you shouldn't have done that. That's your right. Maybe the timing was a little bad. We screw. Dude,
Apparently it
I
was.
say some shit sometimes that I
And
shouldn't say, and I'm like,
in light,
"Oh,
like I
wrong
said,
time,"
if
right?
hindsight,
Uh,
I would have
but
not hit the post button.
knowing the family, I know they're really going to appreciate you admitting, or apologizing for that. And I personally appreciate you coming in and sitting down and doing that, because, like I said, it does take quite a bit from somebody to sit down and do that, because I've been wronged by some people, by some leaders, and not one time has any of them ever said sorry to me, right? So for somebody that just made a silly, not silly, but obviously
A message of awareness is what I wanted to call it, to bring light to
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
I may have chosen a few wrong words, but I'm not exactly a linguist sometimes
Right.
when it comes to speaking or writing speeches or anything like that.
Yeah. But yeah, man, David, I appreciate it. And hopefully this kind of helps clear the air, and hopefully, um, you don't get a lot of threats or any of that kind of
Well,
stuff will kind of calm
I have
down.
gotten a few, and
Yeah.
again, I'm sure my mom worries quite a bit. My wife does, but um, I'm not bulletproof by any means. I do have a soul. I have a conscience. I have a heart.
Well, if you didn't, I don't think you would have reached out to me and said, "Hey, this is
Right,
what I need to
right.
do." And I'm going to post that because I want people to see that. Um, do I think you have some kind of ulterior motive? No, I don't think you do. I think you're genuine when you messaged me, um, or you wouldn't be here, and that's my opinion.
Right.
And everybody's going to have their own, and that's fine. But that's what this chair is for, and I'm glad that I'm not glad that we're here because of this, but I'm glad it happened so that way I can, this completely justifies why I'm doing this podcast, because there's going to be people out there that don't like my guests. There's people out there that don't like me, but I want everybody that's got something to say to be able to come and sit in that chair and tell their story. That's the whole reason I did this. And for you to come out and do that means a lot. And I appreciate you more than you know. I appreciate you for doing that.
And the
And I
same with
hope
me.
I hope this gets cleared up.
I
I
appreciate you
really do.
allowing me the time
Yeah.
to come on to again mainly say I do apologize for any misunderstanding that any of her and her family may have gotten, and her significant other, Jace, and their family. I'm not that guy. I'm not a monster. I'm not. I'm not who others that I have no idea who I am. Zero clue. I have no idea who these people, a majority of these people are, that have come to label me without even knowing who I am,
Yeah.
and to know that if I would have known them personally or whatever, I'd have been there. But still, within the community, I'm still going to show my support and concern and my prayers for her and her family. I'm still going to continue to do so, no matter how many people want to comment and throw adjectives at me. Of course, sometimes intelligence has to be got intelligence, and I'm not trying to say this in a condemning way by any means, but I felt like with a lot of the comments, I had to dig deep inside and think that I felt like I was lowering myself to meet the intellect of these others that don't know me, and that really pulled me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
That I had to do that, because people that know me know that I can be, either one or two people. I can be your biggest cheerleader and supporter, or I just remove you from my life entirely, and life goes on for both of us.
Yeah, and I understand. It's an emotional time for a lot of people right now, and man, it's just one of those things. We all screw up every now and then, and post or say something that we shouldn't. I do it quite often, but whatever. But yeah, and I want to be respectful of your time. But with that being said, David, I really appreciate you coming out.
Well, there's one other thing I would like to
Sure.
add, Rick, if that's okay. And this is the part that really has me confused about the county we live in. And I'm sure you may understand, you may not. Um, do I go to church every Sunday? No. Am I a believer? I have a very high faith. I am a very believer of a greater power and a God. I walk through my church in my life daily. I'm not a member of organized religion. I'm very spiritual when it comes to how I reach out and treat others in the community and in public. But, but and this is just my opinion, and I'm sure there's going to be those that are probably going to disagree. But then I'll have those that, well, yeah, you're kind of right. But for this county to be so labeled, and I don't know if I'll use the term label, but Christian based, and to have so much evil and negativity come out of their heart towards someone, and then turn around and go to church. I can guess I won't get prayed for, but I'll pray for them.
Yeah, I don't know.
I pray for those
I
that,
bet you there's a lot of people out there praying for you right now.
and I would hope that there would be.
And you know, kind of to respond to that, I think a lot, and I'm not making excuses for nobody. I think a lot of this, just from what, and I haven't seen everything, so I can't sit here and give 100%. This is, I don't know what people are thinking, but you know, it's a very emotional time, and some of these comments are coming from some of the family, right? And without them knowing that that post was whatever it was intended for, correctly, and they automatically, you know, not automatically, but it gets misstrued, and it seems like it's, you know, towards this or it's towards
Right,
this.
right.
I see where you're coming from
It's the
with
lost in
people acting
translation.
a certain way, but you know, I can't sit here and say that I wouldn't respond the same if it was my kid. You know what I mean? If it was my family member, because if you don't do your research, if people tend to make rash decisions sometimes, right? Uh, your post, you've kind of fumbled. Should I post it? Should I not? Made a rash decision. I'm gonna post it, right? So the only thing that I can say is we're all responsible for ourselves, right? We need to hold our own selves accountable for our actions.
Absolutely.
And if we do that, and I know a lot of these people that's made these comments, and that's not who they are. You know, I can honestly say that. I can say some of these people that those comments that are pretty harsh, that's not who they are.
Right.
I think they're hurt. And I'm not making excuses for nobody, David. I'm just trying to, I think they're hurt. They're going through something they don't understand or know how to deal with. And honestly, with you coming on here and doing what you've done in due time, I think you'll see that. I think that you'll be able to reach out to them and speak to them, and maybe they'll reach out to you. Um, but again, I'm not making excuses for anybody
I understand.
because I don't know. Maybe they do mean exactly what they said, but knowing these people, some I know better than others. Knowing them, I don't. That's not who they are, right? You know, if I was to smack you in the face, you're gonna get pretty mad about it, right? You're gonna act a certain way. Um,
Well, I'm a different kind of I come from a different kind of a mold.
well, you see what I'm saying. You
But I
know, you're
understand
gonna
what you're
act,
saying.
right? You're gonna
Turn the other
react.
cheek.
Um, it's gonna. Somebody smacks me in the face, I'm gonna get pretty hot about it, right? I'm gonna act a certain way, or somebody says whatever, I'm gonna act a certain way,
Sure.
and I think that's where we're at. I think in today's society, especially, um, you know, the freedom of speech is kind of construed. People take things totally different than they did just back in the '90s when I was growing up. Things were totally different. And I'm not disagreeing with you on anything because
Right,
I
right.
can see where your point of view. I can see that. I'm not the most smartest man in the world, but I'm smart enough to understand what you're trying to. You know, I'm picking up what you're putting
And
down.
sometimes
Okay.
my choice of words,
Yeah.
sometimes I
Yeah.
can't quite find them.
Yeah.
You know.
So but yeah, I like I said, and this is the only thing I can say about it is they're going when somebody is like Maggie. Maggie is such a big light in this county, right?
Sure.
And then she's a young kid. She's not young, but
Young
she's not,
lady.
18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
Um, I've seen it time and time again. They rally. People rally around our kids. And I don't see any sense of entitlement coming from them at all. And I know that's not the post was not made toward them. You've made that clear. Uh, but just knowing them that I think they will appreciate you coming on here and kind of trying because I don't know how this is going to go
And I
over.
pray that they do.
Yeah,
I pray that they do.
kind of set
Understand
things
that.
straight. Because you never know. Maybe you're not on Facebook all the time. Like you said, the post was made before all this happened. It was completely about something else. Um, it's just it's a tough thing, man. It's tough what
It's
you're
a
going
tricky
through. It's really tough,
situation.
and it's even tougher what they're going through.
Oh, absolutely.
And
What I'm going through is
it's nothing.
minute
You know,
compared to what they have to live with right now.
I always get mad at myself when I complain about something because there's so many more people out there that are going through things that are far worse than what I'm having a bad day because I forgot my lunch at home or whatever. And, there's so many people out there that are going through things that we can't even fathom and still have a smile on their face. So
Absolutely.
I guess what I'm gonna is I'm just gonna ask you, um, moving forward, to maybe, and I think you have maybe reach out to them again, in due time,
In due time.
and
Yes.
and just explain yourself. And if they accept it, then that's you're just gonna have to. I guess I'm not a psychologist by no means. Nobody needs to be taking advice from me, but
Right. Right.
if they tell you to go f off, all
I
right,
understand.
that's what you need to. You know what I
I
mean.
understand.
But again, I know them, and I would probably react. I don't know. It didn't happen to me, so I don't know. But I would probably react the same way. I'd be mad, and I would have some things to
As we
say,
all
and
would. As
right,
we all
and I
would
always try to put myself
feel.
in that position, and
Right.
it's tough to do.
And
It's
as
really
we
tough
all
to
would
do.
feel, would feel targeted,
Yeah. So, but
basically.
I'm glad you came on, and I'm glad you got your apology out, and hopefully you got out what you
Well,
needed to.
Mr. White, I
Yeah.
appreciate you having
Yeah.
me on. And like I said, I knew there was nothing that I could do at that point. My wheels were spinning trying to explain this, and I follow you on your podcast,
Well, thank you. I appreciate
and
that.
no, thank you for what you're doing, and that means more to me than anything right now. Um, um, I just lost train of my thought for some reason or
Yeah.
another, but
Well.
um, I get it. I get it. My timing was wrong, but who's to understand what's happening within that
Yeah.
anyone's
Yeah.
life, and life, life can be full of coincidences, untimely coincidences. It can be. Mine just unfortunately had to be one
Yeah.
at the way the wrong time, and with like I said, I can't begin to express enough my deepest thoughts and prayers that I have for Maggie and her family. And I've seen Maggie's pictures. I've looked at Maggie's pictures. Beautiful young lady, got a great smile. You can see her eyes, the spirit in her, and the people she's touched, just the people that she's touched within. I won't even say this county. I've
Oh,
seen
thousands
Madison,
and thousands.
Hopkins County,
Mm.
and everywhere. And I'm sure it's across the river and everywhere. And that to me speaks volumes in itself. And again, like I say, I'm not that guy. I'm not the monster everyone's making me out to be. I just try to have a voice for those who are afraid to speak up and stand up for how they feel that's going on, because this tight little community has
Yeah, I mean,
it
when,
has
like I
a
said,
habit
man,
of
when Brave Nation here, when one person hurts, they all hurt, and when one person stepped on, then people step up. It
yeah.
seems like, um, and we should do it for every one of us.
Absolutely. And see, and like I say, I grew up here. I was in, from the '60s on up, and I have people, friends, and family, and not blood related family, but what I call my spiritual family, the people that I grew up with that are not of Caucasian persuasion. They're black, red, yellow. Again, I'm completely colorblind when it comes to that. And a lot of people understand how Morganfield at one time was very much a segregated town.
Uh-huh.
And still, to me, with what I see, it can be. And it was with the motivation, I guess, with Raynell and Junior, that initially, I mean, we've lost, people through. There was a couple young men that were shot and killed years back here in Morganfield. The circumstances were a little bit, illegal, but still, there was, loss of life here, and I don't think circumstances, be it Maggie, uh, or be it someone that's again living in a trailer out in the middle of some debilitated neighborhood, should be any different than the other. That was my point, but not using Maggie as an
Right.
example, but just trying to get the word out. And everybody I've spoken to, or that's spoken to me even prior to all this. Junior's still unsettled. It's still unrested with a lot of people that feel that way,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry for them and their family, and right now and all that. I can't imagine again, with that, and that's basically where this all stems from, and man, it just
You know, and I'm just sitting here thinking, and shoulda, coulda, woulda. If he would have just put Junior Brown on there, maybe all this would have
Oh,
been
and I did later on. I went back and
later
I'm
on.
like,
Yeah.
look, this
But
is
on your initial
on my
post,
initial
after
post,
or before it all blew up,
right?
and we don't know that. You never know.
Right.
But yeah, man, I don't want to keep you any longer. And like I said, I wanted to be able to let you have your time and say what you needed to say, and we're gonna get this out here pretty quick,
I
so
appreciate it,
that
Rick.
way you
And
can do your
again, to
thing.
Union County,
Yeah.
brave, strong. I stand with the rest of everyone else with Maggie and her family, and I hope and pray she pulls through and continues to be the fighter that young lady seems to be. She's got a lot of people pulling for her.
She's something else. She's strong.
I've
So
never met her. Don't know nothing about her family again, but um, they are in our family's thoughts and prayers, and will continue to be so. And for those that uh, chose to, I guess I'll use the term loosely, throw knives, I'll pray for them too.
and we
That
should pray for everybody, no matter
they
what.
can find it in their heart to forgive me for this huge misunderstanding that was not intentional toward anyone. And I appreciate you, Rick, for having me out.
absolutely.
It means the world to me.
Absolutely.
It does.
All right, guys. So this has been a little different podcast, and like my buddy Frenchie always says, y'all be good to each other.